Hi, I'm Rosie Grant, Executive Director of Patterson Education Fund. Welcome to the 2018 Patterson School Board Candidates Forum, sponsored by Patterson Education Fund. We thank the Patterson PTO leadership for supporting this effort with volunteers and Patterson Public Schools for hosting us. PEF, the PTO, and Patterson Public Schools are not endorsing any of the candidates, but rather providing an opportunity for you to get to know them and their views. Karen Brown, PEF's Board Secretary, will be asking the questions of the candidates. Volunteers will be taking written questions from the audience. Please just raise your question when you are ready with it. There are 10 candidates vying for 3 3-year terms and 7 candidates for 2 1-year unexpired terms. In these 3 sessions, we will have heard from 16 of the 17 candidates. Due to that number, we've broken it into the 3 segments. Our audience can learn more about the candidates and the election issues from our Educated Voters Guide, which you received here today, but which is also on our website at patterson-education.org. If you don't have access or would like a printed copy, please call us at 973-881-8914. Thank you. Let's move to the questions.
Good evening and welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
All candidates will answer the same set of questions. As Rosie Grant indicated, you will have 2 minutes to answer each question. The exception will be the introduction, which I will give you an opportunity to introduce yourself at this time. We'll start with Mr. Udine.
Hello, good evening. As some of you know me, my name is Musleh Udine. I'm a lifelong resident of Patterson, and I was born and raised in this city, and I went to the public schools here. I graduated from John F. Kennedy High School, got my undergraduate from William Patterson University, and I'll be furthering my education at Montclair State University for my MBA, and I'm here as a 1-year unexpired term running for the Patterson Board of Education, and I'm 11K on the ballot, and I want to thank everyone from the Patterson Fund, Patterson Education Fund for having me. Thank you.
Good evening all, my name is Manny Martinez, and first of all, thank you all for coming out, and thank you to the Patterson Education Fund for hosting this forum this evening. I'm a lifelong Patterson resident as well. It's been an honor and privilege of mine to serve on the Patterson Board of Education for the last 5 years. I'm an educator by trade. I've spent the last 12 years of my life working as an educator. I started out teaching 1st and 2nd grade, came up as a director of community schools, and now serving as a vice principal here in the city of Patterson. So education is it's my life's work, it's my passion, it's my calling. And I'm excited to be here tonight to engage in this forum, this debate. And looking to serve another additional 3 years here at the Patterson Board of Education. We've been able to accomplish quite a few things. We still have a long way to go and a lot of work to do. And I feel that it's my responsibility to see this work through to fruition. That's why I'm running for re-election. So the election is November 6th, and I am 6K on your ballot. And again, my name is Manny Martinez, and thank you all again for coming.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Oshin Castillo. First, I would like to thank PEF as well for hosting this forum, as well as our PTO and our family and community engagement from the district, who are all here making sure that we do this for the community, and thank each and every one of you for taking the time to come out. My name is Oshin Castillo. I'm the current board president. As my colleague said, I'm a lifelong Pattersonian. My background is in finance as well as in marketing. Right now I do work with constituent services. And I want to come back to the board because, we've done a great job, but there's also a long work to do. There's long ways to go. And I want to make sure that I come back to complete the work that we have started, making sure we complete to fruition so that our children receive the best that they can have. My name is Oshin Castillo, and I'm 4K on the ballot.
Good evening, my name is Nellie Shelley. I am 10K on the ballot. Thank you to PEF and all of you for coming out and taking the time to hear the candidates and what we bring to the table, because that is the most important. You are the voters, and without you, it's going to be difficult to have the right candidates there. I currently work as the outreach coordinator at Passaic Community College, working with high school students who are remedial in math and English, meaning that I have high school students who are in 5th grade reading, 4th grade math, which is unacceptable if you graduate from one of our high schools. Unacceptable, and that's one of the reasons that I'm running. Once again, my name is Nellie Selly, and my ballot number is 10K. Thank you.
So now let's delve into the questions. First question. Patterson is just beginning the 2-year process of returning to local control. What will you do as a member of the school board to facilitate a smooth transition and prevent future takeovers? Let's start with Mr. Udine.
In 27 years, we are finally gaining local control. And what would I do during the 2-year transition is I would make sure that our children are receiving all the available resources that they have need. Make sure our fiscal responsibility is one of the top priorities, that we make sure our $585 million budget is used wisely for our school district and for our students and also our staff. Thank you.
Okay, so perhaps, in my opinion, perhaps the 2 most important areas that we need to focus on in making sure that we get through this 2-year transition thoroughly and effectively have to do with first our fiscal areas and then secondarily our performance in the classrooms. You know, we have a long ways to go as far as the level of performance that our scholars are currently demonstrating, and I think there's 2 tracks that we have to run parallel. First thing we have to do, we have to make sure that all of our scholars, we really have to double down between the 8 grades of pre-K to 3rd grade. We really have to ensure that our scholars at those grade levels are reading at grade level. The data says that students who are not able to read at grade level by the time they reach 3rd grade will subsequently fall behind 2 grade levels every year thereafter. So we have to really double down and make sure that we're putting a lot of resources and time and effort into making sure that our youngest scholars are getting the foundation that they need. While we're doing that, we also have to make sure that simultaneously a lot of our high school scholars are also getting the resources they need. Unfortunately, a lot of our scholars are graduating high school, going on to college and taking remedial courses because they're not being prepared the way they should be prepared in high school. So we have to, you know, operate those two tracks parallel at the same time. The other component that's going to be major is making sure that our fiscal house is kept in order. Those are perhaps the 2 biggest DPRs of the 5 areas that they look at in CUSAC, which are the determining factors in us getting control back. We have to make sure that those 2 areas are well kept. So if we can ensure you know, that our fiscal house is in order and that our youngest scholars and then as well as our oldest scholars in our district are getting the resources they need, if we can keep those 2 tracks in order and keep making sure that we're diligent and doing those things well, we're going to do everything that we need to do in order to ensure that local control finally remains in our district after 27 years of being in state control.
To facilitate local control, we've started a very important process after 27 years of being under state control. There's 3 areas, I think I'd add one more from my colleague. We're making sure that our students are continuing to grow and achieve academically. We have to put more resources and keeping our finances in order. Make sure that we put more resources into our classroom, making sure that we give each student the tools that they need in order to continue to achieve. And we continue to elevate by updating and making sure that we have their stats. We already have a curriculum that's aligned, but making sure that we follow those procedures in the curriculum, as well as making sure that the resources in our finances come back into the classroom, like laptops, making sure that we give extra tools in our curriculum. We have the base curriculum. Now we just have to add intervention courses additional to that, depending on how the child is doing. We have the bases covered somewhat. Now we have to continue to add on to make sure that there is steady growth. Finance is actually very important. This year we were able to start the school year without no layoffs in the district. So we passed a balanced budget and no layoffs, and it's something we need to continue, making sure that we have the personnel that we need, that we reach out, because if we have a stabilized curriculum and our students are achieving growth, we have the personnel in-house that we need in order to facilitate that process, as well as our governance, and that we're following all laws and procedures to make sure that we're continuing to move the district as a whole forward. It can't just be one area. It has to be the full district moving continuously forward. Thank you.
Moving the district forward is going to be very important. How do you do that? I look at it this way. We're building a house. We're going to lay bricks, and every brick is an area of concern, an area that needs to be addressed. You cannot build a house of cards because it will collapse, and at times we have that in different areas. We have concerns with the reading, the math, children not at grade level, special needs, the lunches, teachers not having the supplies that they need, the park, the taking the recovery credits. We're letting them graduate, we're back to square one, they don't really know the material. That's not helping them. What we need to do is, we all need to elect individuals that have the expertise, the experience, the desire, and the passion, and areas of expertise that will help bring a brick and build a strong foundation that will be here long after us, and that we will never lose control again. We need to be focused, and everybody needs, there's numerous areas, and you cannot address just one. You need to address all of them at the same time. That means everybody's got to pull together, work together, figure out their focus, and address it. Address the issues, do not be afraid of it. There's fiscal, there's operations, there's the classrooms, everything. You cannot just say we're going to focus on one area and we'll worry about the rest later. That's not going to work. We have to be conscious of what we're doing. Chronic absenteeism is a problem, and it starts at preschool. We have the dropout rates. The park, we need to increase. When we put in place anything, we need to make sure that we have the infrastructure to support it. Putting in, when the park went live, we didn't have the infrastructure, things were crashing, kids couldn't get on, log on. There were so many different issues. The infrastructure is important. If you don't have an infrastructure, you're back to the house of cards. We need a strong foundation with bricks made of cement, built with the expertise, the passion, and the desire, and the experience of the commissioners. Thank you.
Next question. The state increased school funding by $20 million for this fiscal year, but the total still falls short of what our children are entitled to under the law. What is your role in ensuring that our children get adequate resources? We'll start with Mr. Martinez.
Great, thank you. So in terms of funding, we have to kind of set the context, all right? And this is not a blame game, this is a reality. Over the last 8 years, under the governor that we had prior to the current governor we have right now, our district was shortchanged to the tune of $280 million. So, and it was literally illegal what was taking place. According to the SFRA, the School Funding Reform Act, certain criteria were put in place to determine how much money districts should be allowed. Patterson was shortchanged to the tune of $280 million. This had ramifications in the classrooms in the sense that we had to lay off 500 plus teachers over that span of time. We had to cut programming. Arts and music were completely cut from our district. And these are real things that were felt on a day-to-day basis. Thankfully, as you mentioned, there was an additional $20 million that came back into the class, that came back into our budget this time around. And because of that, we were successfully able to put art and music back into every classroom this year. We successfully presented a budget with no layoffs. We had teachers in all classrooms. We laid off no teachers this year. There's a lot to be said for that. As far as what we can do on our end to ensure more money coming back into our district, we have to advocate. That's a huge job of what our responsibility is as commissioners on this board, is to advocate. Personally, I believe that we have all the elements in the equation that we need to actually get the funding back, fully funded, and perhaps even some of them. It's going to be hard to make up to $280 million, let's be frank about that. But I think we have a golden opportunity with the alignment that we have from the governor's office to our state legislatures, which are working on our behalf, from the county level to our municipal level. All of these things are now in alignment. So when we have everybody pulling on the same end, we can get a lot more done. It's tough to make up that $280 million, but as advocates for this district, we need to be very vocal down in Trenton and making sure that we're demanding the full funds that our students deserve. We've been shortchanged for far too long.
And just to kind of piggyback on that, advocating, but the reason of why we're advocating, going down to Trenton and saying we need X amount of dollars, sounds great, but what does that really give us? It's creating that strategic plan and laying out, this is where our downfalls are. This is exactly what we need, kind of laying it out. It's a conversation that we've had many times when we've gone down to Trenton and said, okay, we need X amount, but why? Clearly we see it. It's kind of drawing that picture when you got down there. About a week and a half ago, our new executive SDA director actually came into Patterson, and we did a tour with her, all of our schools. We showed her what our new schools look like, School 16, Dr. Hani, what Patterson Catholic looks like, and hopefully we'll have a plan there. But we also showed her what School 14 looks like, what School 17 looks like, and what is occurring in those schools. And it's creating that picture, look, this is where we stand, this is what we need for our students to continue to achieve. And apart from advocating is making sure that we look for resources as well. We hired a grant writer this year, which the district hasn't had in a very long time, to look for those grants and offer those monies that are out there. It was one of the reasons we applied for a $200,000 grant for actual instruments. We have music in our back, but now we want to make sure that our kids can play an instrument. It's a way we applied for $2.5 million for full-service community schools. It's also being proactive. Advocating, but making sure that we're looking for all the options that we can to bring those monies into the district so that our students can have the academics, but they can also have extra resources that would then allow them to continue growing.
Yes, the $280 million we have been short. And as I look at it, we're not getting that money back. That money has been reallocated. I don't think the state has it in a piggy bank and is going to give it to us whenever we play nice. So we have to look at what we're going to get. We got $20 million this year. What can we actually say we're going to ask for next year? We can't ask for the 280. That's not happening. So what can you ask for? Can we ask for 20? Can we ask for 30? Can we ask for 40? And then let's give them a plan of what that money will be used for and how it fits the funding formula. The other thing is that funding formula is outdated. We need to go back and look and revisit it. Because cities like Jersey City are receiving a certain amount of money. When this formula was created and adopted, Jersey City has come up a long ways. They have beautiful sky rises, their economy has flourished. They're no longer in need like they were. Patterson is still in need, and before Mayor Saya gets us up to Jersey City status or better, we better get on board and advocate. And advocate does not mean one day in the year we go down and speak to legislators. It's talking to who knows who knows someone that we can show up to a dinner and go, hi, you know, we're the Patterson Board of Education, and we really need your help. We need you to help us out here, and this is the reason why. It's building relationships, advocating. But it has to be a constant, and you have to have a plan for what you're asking for. We don't have the money, we can't dwell on it, we have to plan. What do we have? Let's work on what we can do with what we have. If we keep saying, well, we don't have it, so we can't do it, then we're never gonna go anywhere. We have to work within what our limits. So let's plan, let's advocate, let's creating a plan is number one. Back to the foundation, creating a game plan, and then benchmarks on how we're gonna get there. Thank you.
Next question. In today's environment, our children,
Mr. Udine.
oh, I'm sorry.
Forgot about me, huh? Okay. So, it has. In order for us to have funding for our children, what we have to do is, as we were speaking prior, is we have to advocate. We have to get in touch with our legislators in our city. We have to make them push. We have to be a voice in Trenton and make sure that we make that push, because in order for us to get funding, we have a change in governance, and Governor Phil Murphy has said that he would help our children in the state with funding. So we have to make sure all the people we know, the resources, even our elected officials in our city, to make that push forward to get our kids the funding we deserve. And also for us to have funding for our children, what we need to do is we have to look at one thing, and a major factor is triple net leasing. We have to get rid of triple net leasing that's taking substantial money from our children, and we have to make that push for that. Thank you.
Ready for the next question? I apologize for that. In today's environment, our children experience trauma on a daily basis. What are some policies that could help to ensure that they are safe in and out of school while also providing social and emotional support? Let's start with Ms. Castillo.
Good, okay. It's extremely important, and now we're definitely in a stage in where, you know, mental health is definitely a real issue. And it's applying those resources and policies not only in the district, because we can create policies in the district every day to help our students, but it's also to offer the resources to the parents. So when the student leaves the classroom, leaves the school, there's a partnership between our families, our parents, and the school district. Sometimes our parents don't know exactly what to do, or the student doesn't know how to explain when they have a certain situation. It's bringing more resources into the district, coming from Trenton, coming from federal governments, coming from the city, and creating those ideals in order to allow them to be able to express themselves. We also have to, more in a classroom setting, is create that space for students to be able to express themselves, coming through art and music, but as well as allowing those resources where journalism and writing has become a great way for our students to express themselves. Poetry is more of allowing the student to understand what they're feeling and how to move forward from it. And that's us bringing in more guidance counselors, people that are prepared to give that information, and how to educate the student as well. And bringing that, but the parents are essential. We can create policies 1, 2, or 10 a day, but if we're not offering the resources to back that up, then a policy is just a written paper. So it's making sure that we continue to work together in order so we can help the child, the family, and sometimes even the school district and the teachers on how to come together and move forward from there. But it has to be a community advocacy, it has to be a community transition, it has to be a community plan, where obviously the Patterson Public Schools will play an essential part, but it's a perfect way to bring everyone together.
Our children face challenging times every day. I hear stories where they're homeless, they're living in a park, they're going from house to house, they haven't had anything to eat. Those are things that break your heart every time you hear it, no matter how many times you hear it. Teachers, staff, at every level need to know that these are some of the challenges our students face. They're too young to be facing it, no one should ever have to face that. But it's going to take a village, not just the school district, not just the parents, to make a change and make a difference. After school programs. One of the always live by, every child and every person has a story to tell. And you need to know what that story is. Don't say the little girl in the pink shoes, don't say the little boy with the Iron Man shirt, Annie. That's just an inside joke. So get to know them. Don't put a label on them and say, well, he or she is bad because, they're acting out. Why are they acting out? Yes, it's tough as a teacher when you have 30 students in there, but I know that teachers care, and I know we have teachers that love our kids and are here to teach them, not just book-wise, but to also help them as a whole person. So we need to find ways to empower those teachers to help the whole student and the whole family. Families are going to come together when we don't make it seem like they're being a bad parent. No one's going to come and go, you're a bad parent because your child acted up. No one's coming to that. We would not be going to something like that. Make it inviting, make it friendly, make it familiar when no one's being judged, but we're saying we're here to help. We want to help you, we want to help your child because they can succeed and they are our future. We need to make sure that the resources are in place. Once again, the infrastructure. Everyone is going to have to jump in, both feet, get dirty, get your hands dirty, and help. Otherwise, this will continue and will not change, and we cannot allow the cycle to continue. It's time to break the cycle now. Thank you.
Sorry. With mental health is a big concern in our community. We do have unemployment that's at double digit. We have children in our district that are not getting 3-course meals at home. So what we have to do is to start off by little means is we have to talk to our kids every time they come home from school, ask them how they're doing, how's their day, how's school, simple things like that matter. So if they have any kind of issues, they might, open up to you and might address it. And another issue is we don't have enough social workers in our schools. We do not have enough guidance counselors in our schools. As I was growing up, going from high school, if I had an issue, I had to wait a few weeks just to talk to a guidance counselor, in which by that time the issue either was already taken care of or it probably got worse because it took a few weeks just to talk to a guidance counselor. And things like that are a major concern in our school district, and we need to make sure we have social workers, counselors. Also, we need to open up our schools after school, even the gyms. All we need is just one person to come out and look after our kids, give them some time to shoot the ball around, they want to do homework. Just give them some time away, just to get things done and just have a clear thought. Thank you.
So, the amount, honestly, 2 minutes isn't enough to talk about this topic. I wish I had more. The amount of trauma that our young people are engaging and experiencing right now is unlike anything any of us in this room have ever experienced or witnessed. Bullying is taking place, and when I say bullying, not the traditional, in the school kind of thing. Really, the biggest amount of bullying that we're seeing taking place in schools and districts is cyberbullying. I'm currently right now in the 3rd week of becoming a school safety specialist. I'm taking a training down in Freehold. I'm actually traveling down there tomorrow. And what we're seeing is that a lot of young people right now are being bullied via social media. And I want to speak specifically to the question that you asked about policies. What policies can the district put in place? So one of the things that we've experienced are students bullying each other in the phone, but not just, so the policy we want to have in place is a policy that speaks to not using your phones during school, right? So things can happen in the school day. A student has their phone out, they're Snapchatting, or they're videotaping what's going on. Before they get down that hallway, they've already blasted on social media. Students who are now in the classroom know about something that happened before that child even gets in there. That child walks into the classroom and they feel completely destroyed because that person put something on social media. This takes place outside of the school building. So the policy should be built around no usage of phones or social media during the school hour. And if someone does use their social media platforms to embarrass, to bully someone outside of school, they should still be held responsible for that. I had a scholar who on a Friday afternoon, some of these scholars were in a group chat, Snapchat, and the conversation kind of got out of hand. It drifted on throughout the course of the weekend. When those scholars came back at school Monday morning, that thing was bubbling up and ready to burst. But luckily, through relationships and rapport I developed with these students, some of them let me know what was taking place and we were able to diffuse it. But on the policy side, we need to make sure that these students are not using their phones throughout the course of the day, and if they are using them throughout the course of the day or after school, that they will be held responsible for bullying anyone after hours of school or during hours.
Next question. Describe your view of the roles of the school board and the superintendent. What is the ideal relationship between these two offices? And how will you allocate the time needed to truly fulfill your role? Let's start with Ms. Selly.
The school board and the administration should be one. You work hand in hand towards a common goal with respect, always with respect. Speaking honestly, if you don't agree with something, say it, but in a nice way. We don't need to be, being disrespectful because we don't accomplish anything. Find the common goals. There's always a middle point. Find the middle point to address an issue and resolve the issue instead of just bickering because one doesn't like it or the other doesn't like it. Find the middle ground. It's always about compromise. It's always about making the pieces fit, one way or the other. Look at everything. The role of the board members is simple. You need to advocate for the parents, the students, the families, and work with the superintendent and their administration. Find out what their needs are. We're volunteers. Essentially, we're volunteers. We can't be in the school district every day because that's not our role. But the only way you find out what's truly happening and what everybody really needs is to ask them directly. What do you need to do your job? How can I help you gain those tools or training so that you can do your job better? Or, with less wasteful time or whatever it may be. That's one way of doing it. How will I make the time? If you want to make the time, you will. Otherwise, you'll make excuses. I can't because of this or that. I will make the time because otherwise I would not be here at 9 o'clock at night with my colleagues, waiting, because then it's a waste of time. And I'm not here to waste my time or your time. So I will be here all in, 110%. They might get tired of me asking questions, but it's for the benefit of everybody, because only by asking questions will you have answers, and only then can you address issues. You can't address them any other way unless you actually know and you ask those that are directly involved. Thank you.
Mr. Udine?
Excuse me. School board and administration, excuse me, I'm a little under the weather, I apologize. School board and administration should be on the same page because the common goal is we're here for the children and strictly for the children and what we can do to get the children ready for elementary school, for high school, have our children college ready, make sure advanced classes are there for our children, so they're not having any struggles. And we do have a lot of huge rate of students that after high school, they're dropping out during high school or after 12th grade are not ready for college level. And can I get the second part of the question, please?
How will you allocate the time needed to truly fulfill your role?
I would allocate my time to fulfill my role is I'll roll up my sleeves. I'll be here from every time I get out of work. If I have to be here till night, be the last one to leave. If I have to go to Tran, if I need my voice heard over there, make sure all the colleagues are on board that we can make a push for our children. Thank you.
Thank you. Specific to the question that was asked, the roles of the school board simply put is to govern through policy. We are not the folks who are in your buildings every single day overseeing the day-to-day operations. That is not our responsibility. That is the responsibility of the building leaders, the principals. The role of the superintendent is that of the CEO. That person he or she is in charge of making sure that the folks underneath them, their assistant soups, the deputy soups, the chairs, the supervisors, are ensuring that those folks in the buildings are doing what they're supposed to be doing and that they have what they need. The relationship between the board and the superintendent needs to be one of honest, brutal, and honest, open communication. We have a system of checks and balances. That's the way this works. The superintendent oversees what's going on. It is our responsibility to make sure that that superintendent, he or she, is doing what they should be doing. And it's our job to challenge that person. I can tell you right now, the conversations that we have in committee meetings and offline, there's sometimes very brutal and very harsh conversations that we have just about every single day. When we come to the dais and we present a united front. It's very important that we present ourselves that way, but behind the scenes, let me tell you, we go at it sometimes and we don't always agree, we don't always see eye to eye. Okay? And that's normal. It's like a family. Sometimes a family, you fight harder with your family than you do with just about anyone else. And I see Capers in the back smiling because he knows it's true. We go at it sometimes, but when we come to that dais, we come out there as a united front and we do what's in the best interest of the children. Everything that we do is child-centric, student-centric. And as long as we continue down those lines, we're going to be successful. I have 30 seconds left. The time needed. How do you find the time needed? For me, I'm looking at this distraction. See, I think I'm 30 seconds. The time needed, for me, honestly, I eat, sleep it, and breathe it. This is what I do every single day. This is nothing different. I get up every day. I go into a school over 500 scholars, and this is my daily reality. It's what I know. It's what I do. So finding the time to do this is nothing new. It's not a challenge. It's what I do, and it's what I eat, sleep, and breathe. Thank you.
No, but we do have to make a clear definition of what the role of the board is and what the role of the superintendent is. We said the main focus of the board is to A, hire the superintendent, and B, to set goals that we would then evaluate the superintendent on. You know, the superintendent is basically our employee. The administrators are the superintendent's employees. So we have to oversee and evaluate on what's going on and making sure that the goals that we have set at the beginning of the year as a board are being followed. So that's the main difference. We're not the ones in the school district every day, though we do try, we do want to get involved with the community and we do everything that we can so that there is an involvement so parents don't have a problem, reaching out to any one of us if they have any concerns. We do want to be there to make sure that we have that lending hand and we have that ear and that we are offering tools because at the end of the day, we work for the community. So we do have to hear what the community and what their needs are. We're not in the classroom every day. That's the superintendent's role. We have to set the goals and evaluate them. We have to make sure that those goals are also guided by the mission statement of the school and the vision of the school. We have the New Jersey School Board Association that the vice president and I met with about a week ago. To strict guidelines of what the school board is supposed to look like, the goals that are supposed to be set, and step by step on how to follow it to make sure that we're not overstepping each other's boundaries. Her job is to make sure that the day-to-day operations of the school district are functioning effectively. In the relationship with the superintendent, it has to be one honest and transparent. Right now, our superintendent and I talk, on a regular basis. It's setting up those meetings to see what are the concerns, what do we need to look into, how do we do to move forward, what are the discussions that we need to have, and making sure that we're setting an agenda that it's around our students in the city of Paterson. And the time, I mean, I'm the board president now. Whoever has seen me around here, I spend way too much time here 5 days a week. So you would have to love what you do. And that's what I'm here for. So thank you so much.
At this time, we're going to take some questions from the audience. First audience question. If elected, what will be your main focus to create policy that benefits the ethnic diversity and cultures in our school district? Let's start with Mr. Udine.
If I get elected to the board, what I'll do is to show transparency. We'd have to do some forums with community engagement, make sure our parents come out, they meet the staffs of the schools, and make sure they're engaged in the children's academics, and have some programs that will show some kind of diversity toward our city. Thank you.
That's a very interesting question and a very poignant question. To celebrate the ethnic diversity of our city through policy is very challenging. One of the greatest things about our city is that we're so ethnically diverse. We have over 52 nationalities represented, so many dialects, so many wonderful components of what makes the fabric of our city what it is. How do we celebrate that through policy? That specifically through policy part, that's difficult. I'm going to try to stick to that. And some of the celebrations, and again, I don't want to bring the religious component too much into it, but I think we want to be able to celebrate, all of our religious holidays. We don't want to omit one for the other. If we're going to celebrate, one religious holiday, we want to be equitable and celebrate the other. So I think that's something, and again, I'm trying to be specific to the question about it, asking it through policy. I think if we put policy in place that says if we're going to celebrate one ethnic religion, or one ethnicity or culture, that we somehow try to incorporate the others as well. Some of the things that we do already in the district, I mean, obviously we just wrapped up Hispanic Heritage Month from September 15th to October 15th. February is Black History Month, and to be honest, I think putting 1 month's worth of time to celebrate an ethnic culture or diversity or something like that is almost like a disservice, because our students, to say that, okay, we're going to celebrate you only for this month, and then come February we're going to celebrate you for this month. I feel like it's almost like kind of tamping it down. These are students who are making history every single day, and we should celebrate their diversity and their greatness every single day. It's a tough question. Again, through policy, and whoever asked that, man, that was a good one. Celebrating ethnicity through policy, it's hard to legislate, what someone feels in their heart or what someone is feeling compelled to do. That's tough to do through policy. But just, celebrating our students every single day for the beautiful scholars that they are, I think that's a good start.
I think the best way to celebrate diversity through policy is embedding it in the curriculum, making sure that all of our teachers and all our administrators are teaching our students. I always say, in order to continue in life, you first have to know where you came from. And it's making sure, we're such a diverse city, the city of Patterson. There's so much goodness in that. But as well, the student has to identify, we have a lot of amazing Hispanic and African American poets and writers. And it's for our students to understand that and see that in their everyday routines, in school, and learn from people that came from urban areas as well. Not only nationality and diversity, but from economic standpoints, from where they've lived. And it's embedding that into the children's curriculum every day. I think it's the best way to honor it. And that's the way we can do it through policy, making sure that our teachers and our administrators are taking that into consideration. I think it's the best way to honor your culture. It's the best way to honor tradition. It's the best way to honor religion as well. I think it's something very important that our kids have to learn. Not only for them to know personally, but it also teaches them how to interact with others and be respectful as well, and learn about each other, which will make definitely a more cohesive school as well as a community. Thank you.
Through policy, like Manny said, it can be challenging, but one of the things I would want to see is a policy that teaches, trains professional staff, so that they know how to approach, deal with not just the children, but the parents, the family members, the guardians of the children. You have to start with the staff first, because they're the ones working with these children and teaching them on a daily basis, and they need to have the tools necessary so that they're prepared and they know how to talk to the kids, talk to the parents. That's step one. Also, I would like to see the rich history of Patterson. Patterson didn't just start now with the diversity. It's been going on since the founding of Patterson. So let's make sure that our children know the rich history, the diverse rich history of Patterson. Let them gain some pride. The other thing is we need to have programs within the schools and activity clubs within the classrooms of teaching children to just get to know each other on a different level. Because if they sat down and really talked to one another, they find out they don't have that much, they have a lot in common. If anybody saw the Freedom Riders, anybody see the Freedom Riders? Okay. The teacher was having this issue with the classroom. They all didn't get along, they were fighting, and you're this, you're that, you have black hair, I have blonde hair, I don't like you. End of the story. So what did she do? She drew a line, she took some tape, put it right down the middle of the classroom. Everyone that lives on 5th Street on this side, everyone that comes from a single parent, go to that side. What did they find out? They had more in common than not. And that's something we need to do on a daily basis, is help our children, our families, ourselves learn. And how do you do that? Talking. Just by simply talking and saying, hey, yeah, I like to do that. We look at our foods, a lot of it are kind of like the same, you know? So let's take that and build on it instead of making it an issue. If children don't know differently unless we tell them. They have no limits. They don't see blue, green, yellow, purple unless we tell them. So let's not tell them, but let's just tell them we are one and we're here working towards a common goal. Thank you.
Next question from the audience. With the current cuts in the after-school programs at the federal level, what kind of safeguards will you put in place to make sure our kids get offered programs? Let's start with Mr. Martinez.
Yes, thank you. This is right down my alley. For the last 8 years before I took this job as a vice principal, I worked as a director of full-service community schools. And essentially what we did through full-service community schools was to ensure that our schools became neighborhood hubs, right? So a traditional school may open up at 8 o'clock in the morning, it may close at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the lights go off, everyone goes home, that building is laying dormant. The notion of full-service community schools is the complete opposite. We open up earlier to provide services. We stay open later to provide services, not only to the scholars, but almost as more importantly, or if not equally as important, to the families as well, right? So we offer, for example, in the school that I was working at formerly, we had a family fitness series. 4 nights a week, parents can come in and they can take yoga, kickboxing, Pilates, and one other activity, Zumba, right? And we would provide childcare. Okay, so the parents are now having a place where they can come and they can use the neighborhood facilities. They had access to the computer lab. They had access to ESL classes if that's what they needed, job readiness and preparedness, things of that nature. And currently in Patterson we have a good number. I think we're up to 8 full-service community schools, if I'm not mistaken. We just recently received $2.5 million to expand our full-service community school initiative. And again, the notion is, you know, we want to have these schools be neighborhood hubs. And I think another way we continue to grow this into a shared service agreement that we're currently working on with our municipal leadership, okay? The municipality has needs as well. And again, some of our school buildings are perfect facilities for them to partner with and be able to use. So the notion of, of full-service community schools, I think, is a no-brainer. I think this is something we need to continue to grow, and I think the dividends will pay off, you know, for years down the line. So, thank you.
I think to start off, to safeguard a lot of the programs and the needs that we have in the district, I mean, I think their first step, which you've started, is to have a grant writer. Sometimes we just focus on federal monies and not other monies that are available for the schools to make sure that we continue to have these programs. And it could be through other universities, William Patterson University, Montclair, which are currently doing some things with us as well. And it's taking that, what do you do after school, apart from the tutoring, which we have done through the universities. We have students that are preparing to be teachers, as well as teachers that come to the schools and help with tutoring as well. But also the shared services with the city to make sure that the resources from the city as well with the district, we can work together to offer some of these after-school programs, and especially in recreation. The full-service community programs have been an excellent addition to it. Not only do we offer yoga classes, we also offer cooking classes that not only for the student, but the parents, they can come and do it together. Dance classes, ESL classes, computer programs. So we want to build a community, not only where it's just about, we're going to do this for the student, we're going to create the interventions that they need, the tutoring that they need, but also how do we bring the community together? It's by sharing the resources with the city, with the county, as well as offering these partnerships with other universities and come together to make sure that the students get after-school programs that not only focus academically but recreationally as well, whether it's sports, whether it's dance, whether it's art. So it's offering a variety of things for our students, but we have to create those partnerships. If the monies aren't there where we need them necessarily always in a federal level, but create other ways with the state, county, and city level as well, and making those partnerships to bring to our district and to our schools. Thank you.
After-school programs are essential to any student. One, it helps the parents if they can't pick up their children at 3 o'clock, which is a lot of parents. But we need to provide a safe place. It needs to be consistent. It needs to be nurturing. They need to know that child's story when they come in every day. I know you, not just by what you wear or that you have a label on you. I know you. Saying that, Patterson is not just rich and diverse. We have numerous non-for-profit organizations and churches, and each one of them has a specialty. If we tap into those specialties, we won't have to rely on the federal government to give us what we already have. Reach out to those. If you're a basketball program, hey, what can you do for us? You're in our city. We need the village. You're part of that village. Return on investment again. So what do they have? What can they offer to us? After school should be fun. Kids should be learning. Learning should be fun. It shouldn't be like, oh man, I have to go back to that class again. No, they've been in school all day. Let's teach them in a way they don't even realize they're learning or they're in school. A drama class where they write their own stories. They think they're just telling us who they are and what they're doing, but they're reading, they're writing, their grammar is improving. They don't realize it, but those are some of the things that we can do. It should be fun. Serving on the library and board museum, we're developing programs, 3 programs at this point, for our students for the after-school programs. It's in the development stages, but we'll have that. We're going to partner with the Patterson Board of Education because we are here to help each other out. Remember, it's a village. We're all here. Everybody's got to step up to the plate and say, how can I help? And I'm sure that if you ask anybody in Patterson, someone's going to say, I can do this, I can do that, because everyone loves the kids and we know that the future is there. Thank you.
After school programs, even if they're being cut, those are very vital to our children. Those are very vital to me. I was part of the Roots program. I was part of PEP 21. At the time, coming from a low-income family, I was able to, from PEP 21, I was able to actually, at that time, it's called the Red Bulls, but prior it was called the Metro Stars. If it wasn't for a program like PEP 21, I wouldn't be able to go to a soccer game like that. As a kid, you could just imagine how my level of excitement was going to a soccer game that I never been to. And things like that made me want to go to school, wanted me to look forward to PEP 21 and programs like that. So what we can do is we can get aligned with our nonprofit organizations, see if they could help us out, at least keep the gymnasium open. We already have the services during the school time, so we could use those equipments that we need for our children, just to give them a couple of hours to be with recreation. Also, what we can do is there's programs like upward bound programs like that. We could get in touch and have a relationship with the colleges where the students could go on the weekends, or they even have summer programs. And what that does is it gives them a sense of college readiness. Thank you.
That's about all the time we have for audience questions. At this time, I would like to give the candidates up to 1 minute to make a closing statement. And we'll start with Commissioner Castillo.
First of all, I want to thank you one more time for being here and taking your time to listen to our vision and our mission. I have been on the board for 3 years, and it has definitely been an experience. We have made a lot of great strides in the district and the city of Patterson as a whole, but there's a lot of more work to be done. And I am here, I have been doing the work, and I humbly ask for your support so that I can continue doing the work. because I know that together we can make the Patterson Public Schools so much better for our students, but it does require your help. You know, being on this board is essential because I have the vision and I'm passionate about what I do for our kids because I love what I do. But I also recognize that I need each and every one of you in order to make this work. We're in a very important time in the Patterson School District. We have 2 years to prove to the state that you know how to educate your children. Now you have the vote, now you have the voice, and we want to make sure that we keep it. For far too long, this district has been in the hands of the state of New Jersey. Now it's time for it to stay in the hands of Patterson. My name is Oshin Castillo, 4K, and thank you so much.
Once again, my name is Nellie Selly. I am on ballot number 10K. Why me? Well, it's, how can I say this easily? I'm here because I want to be. No one's making me. I choose to be here. For over 20 years, I've worked in the district, working with the students, families, because it is my passion. Serving on boards such as the State EOF, the Library and Museum, Habitat for Humanity, has offered me the opportunity to learn what a board does firsthand, how to write policies, how to institute them. And working on boards, you realize what you need. Every brick, it's building a house. So you have to decide what kind of house you're going to build. For this legacy, this board, and the future ones to come, will continue to build on that foundation. And if we don't have a strong, concrete foundation, we will crumble and go back to local control. So this election, like every election, is important and vital. And you need to make the right decision for the right reasons. And choose carefully. Nellie Selly, 10K. Thank you.
Mr. Udine?
Once again, my name is Musleh Uddin, and I just want to be an advocate for our children. I'm just a kid from the 1st and 2nd Ward, lifelong resident, and I just always want to make a difference. And in order to make a difference, it starts from education. My parents always told me, son, everything in life can be taken away from you, but your education will always remain with you. I'm 11K on the board. My name is Musleh Uddin, and I hope for your support. Everybody just go out and vote on November 6th. Thank you.
First of all, thank you again to each and every one of you for coming out here tonight. Thank you to Rosie and to Ms. Brown and everyone who organizes. I also want to say thank you to all the candidates who are here and the ones who were here before us, because this is not an easy thing to take on. So I want to salute them and congratulate them for even attempting this, because Lord knows it's not an easy endeavor. For the past 27 years, our local school district has been under state control, and we are finally at a point where we're ready to regain that local control and keep it in our hands. And I want to acknowledge some folks, because we, as current board commissioners, are standing on the shoulders of many who did this work before us. Some of them are actually here. Ms. Willa Mae Taylor, Errol Carr, Dr. Mims. They kind of laid the foundation. They kind of, I use the football analogy. They moved the ball down the field 5 yards at a time, 10 yards at a time. And fortunately for us, we're the team right now that has possession of this ball. We're about to cross the goal line. We cannot afford to fumble the ball. We can't turn it over and put it into the hands of people who, with all due respect, don't have the experience, don't have the relationships, and don't have the know-how to manage what we're going through right now. So my name is Manny Martinez. I'm 6K on your ballot. Thank you.
This concludes our last panel. I want to thank all of our candidates, and at this time, I want to turn it over to our president of the Patterson Education Fund, Rosie Grant.
Thank you again, Judge Brown. Can we give her a hand? She's been standing for 3 hours. Thank you, candidates, for being here tonight and for presenting yourself for the Patterson Board of Education. Thank you, audience. You've been a great audience. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our viewing audience. Remember again that this is one of 3 sessions, so please be sure to watch all 3. Everyone remember, tomorrow is the last day to register to vote in New Jersey, and the election is November 6th. Don't forget to vote in the school board section of your ballot. Please pay attention to the entire ballot, answer the referendum question, type 2, and vote in the school board section. Thank you so very much. Thank you to our volunteers and our videographer. Please turn in your evaluation sheets. Thank you.
You want individual, you want a group?
No, this is all. It's every group.
Let's start. I know. Well, which is, I think it's because we got sanitized.
We're missing the game right now.